because of him, and all because of him.
Russia is taking to the streets again. Red Square is turning into a symbol of fear and anger. Nationalists, musicians, artists are rebelling, even those who just yesterday were shouting for the motherland. And
shit, it's about to start.
The FSB is conducting raids. Young people are being thrown into police vans, and by the Kremlin walls, words are already being spoken. They're being lined up against the wall. The country is entering a new spiral of repression and panic.
Breaking news, friends. New protests are happening at the Kremlin. Moscow Red Square, now the center of protest and fear. Every evening, new groups come out there. Nationalists, liberals, artists. Some shout, end the war. Others, Putin betrayed us. United by one thing, hatred for the Kremlin and exhaustion from dictatorship. Now,
Moscow is suffocating from its own raids. The FSB and the National Guard are clearing the squares. They grab young people and drag them into police vans. On Red Square, dozens have been detained. Among them are artists, musicians, and street singers. Anyone who dared to sing, write, or simply speak is now considered an extremist.
the FSB is responding just like in the 1930s. Young people are being grabbed right in the metro, and police vans are stationed in the squares. According to eyewitnesses, people are being detained even for holding solo pickets.
The police do not give any reasons. They just say it's a special operation. Right now, nationalists are marching in Lyubetsy, a suburb of Moscow. They are protesting against Putin. More than 100 men in masks and jackets bearing the symbols of the Russian community march through the streets, shouting the slogan, "Russia for Russians." In
Lyubetsy, hundreds of nationalists are marching. Masks, torches, songs about a great Russia. The police pretend not to see, but this isn't a patrol. It's a new wave of Russian chauvinism. The same athletic guys who started the gangs of the 90s. This is not a coincidence. It's a reaction to the regime's decay. When the authorities lose control, those who believe only in force take to the streets. The police stay silent because these are their people. The very same ones who were called patriots just yesterday. In Perm, street singer Ekaterina Romanova was detained. She was singing in support of the arrested musicians from the band Stop Time. Anti-war, anti-Putin songs. They say
that the right leg takes longer strides and we keep going in circles, but I say we'll make it through, there are lights ahead.
Now, a second case is being brought against her for organizing an unauthorized concert. The singer said, "I just want to sing without risking ending up behind bars." But today in Russia, even a song against Putin, against the war, is a protest. At the same time, a smear campaign is underway. Kremlin bots have flooded social media. They are demanding real prison terms for the artists. They call them traitors, comparing them to terrorists. The TV channel Tsargrad has even drawn parallels between the musician and Daria Trepova, who killed a war correspondent.
Any emotion, any song is declared a threat. A threat to Putin, a threat to the Kremlin regime. Let the graceful, elegant swans dance. Let them dance and glide for their beautiful, shimmering lake, where the delicate crest is hidden from view, and the earth is adorned with a nightingale singing sweetly on the glowing screen.
These words from Noisy MC's song about Swan Lake have been heard by many, but never have they sounded so clear, so loud, and so convincing as they did on this square, performed by this huge crowd of people. And those to whom these words are addressed, those very fucking Inhumans, are starting to realize that they are the fucking Inhumans. And this describes them very accurately, very meaningfully, very convincingly, and this phrase has a chance to really stick to them. Just as, back in the day, the phrase crooks and thieves stuck, now the phrase fucking people will stick to them. And that's absolutely right. I fully approve of this.
The migrant protests in the Moscow region and in Moscow, the migrant riots against Muscovites have not yet died down, and already the nationalists have announced their own new uprising. And while some are being jailed for singing songs, others are being called to guard oil refineries. In
connection with the emerging threat of the Ukrainian armed forces using long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, there is now a risk of strikes on important aviation facilities and other residential areas in the Tyumen region.
Reservists are being lured into work, 30 to 50,000 rubles for the risk of dying in the next explosion. This isn't an army, it's a meat grinder. The regime is literally holding the country together with fear, and in
order to increase the level of protection for important medical facilities, a decision has been made to employ the most well-trained, patriotically minded citizens to defend these sites. A reservist is considered to be a citizen who is in the reserve and has signed a contract with the Ministry of Defense, is medically fit, and is between 18 and 50 years old. The main difference between a reservist and armament: a contract serviceman believes that he combines his regular work with being in the reserve. I would like to note that reservists who are called upon to protect important critical facilities are not involved in the special military operation and will carry out their duties in the region where the critical facility is located. In our case, this is the Tyumen region. I would like to point out that the period of service in this reserve is 60 days. A mandatory requirement is that reservists must undergo compulsory training for 14 days under the guidance of experienced specialists and instructors at the Tyumen Engineering School. And
against the backdrop of this madness, Ilya Medvedev's words, "the death penalty," are sometimes useful. The phrase, as if it had come from his father's mouth, has simply become a meme. But Russians are not in the mood for laughter. Firing squad walls. Zelenogradsky is now absolutely not a metaphor. Instead of
making proper, comfortable benches for people on the renovated Zelenogradsky promenade, they put this here. What is this even for, and how is one supposed to use it? I've heard that these benches are called firing squad walls. It's unclear what the city administration was thinking when they designed this. But it was clearly not about making things comfortable and convenient for people. And what do you think about these standing benches? Will they make proper ones, or will they just leave this?
people see in them a reflection of the future, where not even songs remain. Today, Russia stands between a song and a police van, between the square and the wall. And even if the Kremlin once again declares that everything is under control, that it's all over, control has been lost. And now fear exists on both sides of the barricades.
In this eternal age on the run, as if falling from the sky, new families and in ashes, like the sky itself, in the rays of love, glimpses of light, we can bear his heart. We will have to learn to see anew, like a father with crutches and a thing. We will have to let her reach it, and I let the night walk and meet. She too, just in case, swung her red bat, but I won't give her even the slightest mark. Not for a hero, I move forward, like with a dog.
Friends, mass protests near St. Petersburg, Moscow, and Petersburg. Perm, other regions of Russia, police vans, the FSB and other special services that monitor young people who sing anti-war and anti-Putin songs. And of course, right-wing radical groups in the center of Moscow and migrant riots. All of this indicates that the Kremlin is losing its power. Friends, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, Dasha, and now watch an analysis of top-tier Russian propaganda.
I think that if psychologically it's truly impossible for a woman to do this, but And then, the doctor-psychologist carefully explains that this is real life, the reality that we all must face, and that today, there are others who are in need of this real life, this reality, just as much as anyone else. I want to tell you that in our country, for a number of reasons, there are currently a lot of childless couples who cannot have a baby. And the waiting list to adopt small, healthy children is very long. And I think that maybe a different approach is needed here, yes, to agree with the woman. That she cannot, or in the future does not want this child, but this child could live in another family.
But the scariest thing is that we men, we kind of go crazy. And women, they manage on their own. But if there's no man, a woman, it's like she's blown around like a leaf, because she's meant to be part of a man. You see, she was taken from him, and she should join with him. She can't exist on her own. You understand? That's the thing. That's why men are foolish and scary. These foolish men are raised by single mothers who themselves matured in their own time. You see how frightening it is? That's how it is. That's why Christianity is becoming, sick and frightening these days. And you wonder, what should we do? So, for example, no one is allowed to participate in the economy.
Roughly speaking, a squadron of 18 Poseidons would completely destroy the very concept of the US as a maritime civilization. Because in that case, all bases, all major port cities, and basically all infrastructure within a roughly 30 to 40 kilometer zone would be destroyed. And just for a moment, that's where 75% of the US population lives. And moreover, let me repeat, the Americans simply have nothing to counter these strikes with. Literally nothing. No aircraft carrier, no super secret US submarine can do anything about it. Not a single torpedo is capable of catching up with our torpedo. They just don't have those speeds. That is only if there is a sudden random head-on collision, but this will change little because the megaton charge in this case...
Megaton?
No, I'm talking in megaton quantities. Yes.
I understood, yes. Megaton. I said, Vladimir Vladimirovich, it will be more than Sarmat. You say, let's hit Kiev. That's just a worm. It's a worm? Where did it even come from? And now why am I going? What are these hundreds? So what am I getting at? Why am I going? Leave Kiev, it'll be easier. Leave Kiev. Listen, Volodya, they'll leave anyway because Kiev is already gone. Just get up and walk out. Just like the guys in Belgorod. They're forced to now. Am I supposed to feel sorry for the people of Kiev? Don't hold your breath. There's no life. Don't hold your breath. That's it. Kiev is gone. And it will never exist again. Why? Because you cursed this city. You betrayed it. You betrayed its holy sites. You desecrated them. You have no right to be there because you are demons who betrayed your own history and your own faith. Purifying water and fire. You said it yourselves. In our broadcasts, referring to prophecies, the clergy, maybe. Well, let's assume the worst case scenario. We're working in conditions of complete isolation. So what? Well, we'll just keep living under these conditions. No, we'll finally just switch to other types of weaponry. At last, we'll strike with full force. We'll finally stop playing around and just do it here. We'll finally just wipe everything off the face of the earth and be done with it. Regarding weaponry, this is actually a very important matter. Because if we're talking about the Hazel, that's what you're insisting on. It's really Paris, London, and all the rest. No, not the new ones. We're talking about Washington, Chicago, all of that. If it starts, John, we can do it both ways. And it can circle over Kyiv, fly around several times. And it's not from us. It didn't come from us. And it's not from us. Who came from where? It's even possible. Let's assume the worst case scenario. We're working in conditions of complete isolation.
So what? We'll just keep staying in these conditions?
No, we'll finally switch to other types of weaponry. At last, we'll strike with full force.
Finally.
We'll finally stop playing around. So let's just wipe everything off the face of the earth and be done with it.
Regarding weaponry, that's actually a very important point, because if we're talking about Oreshnik, which is what you're insisting on, that's really Paris, London, and all the rest.
No, not Paris, London.
It's the cities of Washington, Chicago, Seattle, and Los Angeles?
We can just circle around several times like that. It didn't come from us, and not from us. Who came from where? In war, it's not this side or that side that wins. But the fierce ones, the ones who break the enemy's will to resist. So I'll say it again, we finally started to wipe them out for good. There will be no life in Kharkiv, or in Poltava, or in Mykolaiv, or in Odessa. These cities will be gone, and so will Kyiv. If the civilians don't realize that they've been chosen as expendable material and don't overthrow their Nazi government. And if you don't have the strength, at least leave those cities. Understand that you're being used as a human shield. No strength to leave? I'm sorry. Let me remind you of the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah. There were probably residents there too who simply couldn't leave. They were just forced to live there, like everyone else.
If someone drops it there, where soon our call will shine out to the world, where the dawn of the horizon will break, where we will cast our shadows again, like a burden that's become all too convenient. Get up quickly, for God's sake, I won't leave you here. There will be a bright streak in this darkness, which is as impenetrable as snow at the poles. All of you new ones will rise from the ashes to the heavens. On the elevator of a beautiful ray, the beauty of envy. In the summer, for those who are bright, there will be a streak of light. In this darkness, which is as unbroken as the snow at the poles, the new ones are faithful, and they will rejoice in the heaven. On the elevator of a beautiful ray, the beauty of envy. Where will we cast our shadows again when what has become a burden in the corridor? Hurry up and get up, for God's sake, I won't leave you here. There will be a bright streak in this darkness, which, colorless like the sky at the poles, new steps will sprout from the ashes and reach for the heavens. Clad in two beams of light, beauty will shine. Yes, I truly and sincerely believe that there will eventually be a bright, shining streak of hope in this darkness, which is only dimly lit, much like the faint, glimmering snow at the distant poles. New, green stems and shoots will bravely break through from the ashes, reaching upward toward the vast open sky. On the quiet forest, two beautiful, radiant rays of light will shine brightly for the eyes to see. The day continues on for us, and the small matchbox from the bush still remains, and in the kitchen, the gas continues to burn steadily with a delicate blue flower-like flame. Cigarettes in hand, a warm cup of tea resting gently on the table. It's just simple, right there on the left. And truly, there's nothing else at all. Everything that matters is already within us, deep inside. In front of our hearts, truly, bare love has turned. It's all going according to plan, just as we hoped. Everything is going smoothly and absolutely according to plan. To retire, I made a solemn promise not to take part in the military game, but on my cap there are the sickles and hammers of color, bright and vivid, the emblematic symbols of the era. The boiler, which is meant for the sickles and hammers, stands ready. Salicoy, with a sense of anticipation, winds up, waiting for what is to come. Everything is proceeding according to plan, just as it was intended, step by step, without deviation. Louder! Subtitles presented by Dima Torzov.